Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
Always look to the sky. The Dr. Sky Experience is on the air. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
From the Powerhouse Blowtorch Signal, Talk Radio 77 WABC, and broadcasting from the center of the universe, New York City, welcome to another edition of the Dr. Sky Experience. Permit me to be the first to welcome you to your weekend, Armed Forces Weekend 2026. As we continue to broadcast here with great topics, as you tell us, from the realms of astronomy, space, aviation, weather, and, ladies and gentlemen, celebrity guests and stories of American exceptionalism. You can learn so much more about this particular radio show and constantly stay in touch with the many podcasts that we have at WABCRadio.com, as we've been broadcasting here for well over 1 year. And my email is simply this, drsky@wabcradio.com, as we continue to talk with you, not at you, in what we call the theater of the mind. We always welcome your conversational points. We love those in dialogue and critical thinking. And certainly, ladies and gentlemen, we're impressed right now to have this particular conversation. And don't forget, while you're at it, why not download the WABC app? That'll help you save time, and you can do that a lot easier than conventional methodologies, and there's so much more up at the WABC radio app. What about our adventure this morning? We've talked many times with our special guests on the subject of technocracy. How is technocracy and transhumanism changing your life? Believe me, folks, what you're about to hear in the next 2 hours is literally earth-shaking, or maybe cosmically. Like the metamorphosis of the butterfly. Is that what happens to us as humans? We singularly transform into something? Did anybody ask if that's okay to do? Or are these powers too great that we can't stop them? Many people have described this radio show, and I'm proud to say it. The Dr. Sky Experience is an alternative antidote to the negative news fatigue. Or in simpler words, the Dr. Sky Experience, an antidote to negative news fatigue. And in the esteemed words of Steve Allen a long time ago, he proclaimed that radio is theater of the mind, but television is theater of the mindless. What do you say about such information? It's so interesting to have our special guest, Patrick Wood, as we have him here monthly on the Dr. Sky Experience, sharing so much information from the worlds of technocracy and transhumanism. A little bit of a bio on our special guest. Patrick Wood is a leading and critical expert on sustainable development, green economy, Agenda 21, 2030, and also his storybooks about technocracy. He's the author of Technocracy, The Hard Road to World Order, Technocracy Rising, The Trojan Horse of Globalism. And one of his recent books, The Final Betrayal, that we'll actually be talking more about because we never seem to have enough time to talk about these subjects. One of his recent books, as mentioned before, The Final Betrayal, A Cautionary Tale. So for the next 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen, sharing with you by someone that I respect highly, in his opinion, the stories of technocracy, transhumanism, and what's going on in the world. The contact number, once again, 1-800-848-9222. And with that, a hearty welcome to Patrick Wood. Patrick, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure to listen to the research that you do and the great information. Thanks for being here.
Good to be with you, Dr. Sky, as always, for sure.
Well, thank you. You know, we just had this great information. The world news media is just, all over. Very hot topic. The President of the United States going to meet the leader of Communist China, and so many things that were happening over there. And I know you have something interesting to share with us. It's something called Pax Silica. What is that, ladies and gentlemen? The subtitle, Who Owns the Rails of AI Civilization? And we'll be getting into that. But first, Patrick, closer to home, and I think equally important to many people out there, the proliferation of these data centers that are all over the world, the United States in particular. And one of them I'd like to introduce to you and the audience, that is, with you, the proposed Stratos Data Center project in Box Elder County in Utah. Please carry the ball, because this is interesting, and if anybody out there is concerned about the proliferation of data centers utilizing excessive amounts of water and electricity, Patrick Wood, talk about why that's important for people like us to hear.
Yes, indeed. This is a data center like no other data center in the world at this point. It's going to be the largest contiguous data center ever. It's going to consume 40 acres. And it's going to be the size of a small city, and the residents are hopping mad. This is Utah. This is, there's nothing not desert in Utah. It's basically a desert, a high desert at least.
It is.
And they have a situation with the Salt Lake at this point. It's drying up. It's toxic. And people are just screaming for that, about that. There's nothing they can do about it. They need rain. But at this point, this new data center wants to come in and build this data center. By the way, I was wrong. It's 40,000 acres of land.
I was going to jump in on that. That's big.
40,000 acres of land. This inconceivable. This is a plot of land that would be 8 miles square. Just think about that. You drive 8 miles in one direction and turn left, go another 8 miles and another 8 miles. That's how big this plot of land is going to be. And so they've conned the local people, the county people, into permitting this thing with the help of the military. This hasn't been done yet, but the military, because some of this land will be on a military base or property. There's an obscure it's called the Military Installation Development Authority, or MIDA, M-I-D-A.
Okay.
And this is crazy. This was originally created by the Utah legislature to facilitate economic development adjacent to military installations. I don't think they ever intended this to be used for this purpose, to approve this data center, but this is exactly what they've used. So all of a sudden, they were able to kind of side skirt the county commissioners to get this thing passed. And they have. And the citizens of the county are absolutely livid. You can imagine at this point.
Yeah,
they don't have enough water even now, but now this data center is going to be hugely, hugely impactful on the remaining water supply. It's just a travesty of justice.
Well, are you at liberty to name the company that's behind this? I mean, obviously, if the state legislatures approved this, and many of the people, I don't know, were there hearings to go on before this was ever approved, or was it kind of hidden and done in the deep dark of the night to get this okayed?
It was kind of in the deep dark of the night until probably it's too late to do anything about it. The project is called Stratos, S-T-R-A-T-O-S. It's going to be roughly the size of 2.5 times the size of Manhattan. Really?
That's amazing.
Absolutely insane.
62 square miles. That's incredible. I mean, that's just outrageous.
I know.
But let me stop here, because I don't know enough about data centers. I understand what their purpose is, whether it's good or bad for the humankind and the whole thing. But here's an interesting part of this. The usage of power. Now, let's be fair to this, group, trying to be fair here. I'm reading this. The facility is projected to require 9 gigawatts of power, which exceeds the current energy consumption of the entire state of Utah. But
I know,
on their side of the equation, they're saying that they're going to develop their own dedicated power sources. So how could somebody, unless they're anti-technology, how could they even say, well, if they're not utilizing my electric, what's so bad about the whole thing? But it gets even deeper than that. Now we're talking about water usage, and that is a major concern for people who are not only here in the western United States, but all other parts of the country. Please continue on this. It's fascinating to hear about this.
Well, we all know that data centers drink water. They have to have cooling, and it has to be fresh water. It can't be polluted water. So, they consume at enormous quantities for cooling. And the scale of Stratus at this point, all they can say at this point, the consumption figures are just staggering. I don't know exactly what this means, but you can imagine there's going to be a huge water bill, so to speak. We have, by the way, we have some data centers here in Arizona that consume water. I don't like it at all. But our data centers here are nowhere near the size of this new system. And our data centers here are bad enough with the gallonage that they consume. I just can't imagine how much water this whole facility would use for cooling.
Yes, and if you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Wood, a regular guest here on the Dr. Sky Experience. By your sign of approval, my email, as always, is drsky@wabcradio.com if you'd like to chime in. But equally important, and maybe more important, is what the people out there in this gigantic audience here globally think about this whole concept. We've just scratched the surface, ladies and gentlemen, with Patrick. His website, if you'd like to go to it, technocracy.news, a great resource of information with his in-depth article analysis and the research that he does on these particular topics. The 1-800-848-9222 phone line is open here in the Theater of the Mind, where we, of course, welcome your conversational points on this, your questions and comments. What do you really think, ladies and gentlemen, about this whole subject of technocracy, which I think you really need to define for many first-time listeners to this radio show? Patrick Wood, in your definition, what the heck is technocracy for people that may not know?
Well, basically, this was invented in the 1930s. Believe it or not, this is almost 100 years ago at this point. It was defined by themselves as a science of social engineering. But with that designation comes the gotcha. They wanted to create a system where all the resources in the system are managed by them. That means all the property would be turned over to them to manage for our use. And they wanted to do it away with money, banking, cash, all that sort of stuff. And they wanted to institute a system of energy credits, what you would get every month or maybe every quarter, depending on how much energy there was in the system. And this was a crackpot scheme, basically, and fortunately it didn't get traction in the 30s and 40s, and it went away for a time. But now it's at us again with a vengeance, and it's basically the same system today that it was in the 1930s. So, we look at all of the talk about energy today. It's all over the news. Energy is just at every quarter of the world at this point. We know that the banking system is going to be wiped out at some point and be replaced by this new digital system that's being raised up around the world. The central bank digital currencies, stable coins, etc. Cash is going to be out at some point, and the supply and demand might also be out as well. Who knows? But
yes.
This is not the future that we bargained for sure, Steve.
Well, Patrick Wood is our guest, as I've been promoting here, and will continue to do that proudly. A friend of this radio show and a friend of many who listen out there. One of the main themes of this particular radio show is always to talk about the great mysteries, and we never get off measure. But the main theme here that I'd like to impart right now, and I know you agree, is that with every show that we do, our goal is to impart knowledge and learn something new that you may not have known before by the very many great guests that we have here. As you folks tell us, this is not me making this up. 1-800-848-9222. If you're just joining us, the conversational points here for the next 2 hours on the Dr. Sky Experience, the subject of technocracy and transhumanism. How does that affect you? And Patrick, I want to be very positive to listeners out there. Of course, that's the only way I would want to be. I want to just give some, impart some positivity on this, because even people here in Arizona and other places around the country who have fought hard doing this the nonviolent way, they have actually made changes to this. If you and many other people out there are not big fans of these data centers, for whatever particular reason you have, Talk about that. People have succeeded in slowing down or actually rejecting in this so-called democratic process, if you can be heard, during city council meetings, et cetera, et cetera.
I will say confidently that every state has raised up a ruckus of protesters against data centers. They're all over the place. The problem is you won't see any reporting in the mainstream media because the whole story is just suppressed. So when you see, for instance, in Utah, you see 1,000 people or 2,000 people lining up to get into the meeting with the county commissioners, or in Tucson, for instance, where a liberal city in Tucson was packed. Their city council center was absolutely packed with people hopping math. You didn't see that story in the news, so nobody can see what's going on in other parts of the country. But I can guarantee you, if you look on the internet, maybe use an unfiltered search engine like Yandex, perhaps Yandex.com, you might find some of these stories where people are really rising up effectively, putting a stop to the data centers in their area. Of course, the problem is they just go down to another city and make them an offer, and they'll get their roots in there instead of the other city.
Patrick, more about you, Patrick Wood. No, you're no stranger to this whole topic. You're an economist by profession. Talk about that. And then the other question that I'd ask you for the audience, so they can welcome you into the theater of the mind, as many have. When did you get the great revelation on this? I mean, you're a little different than many other economists that I've talked to, who might be more from the, kind of like from the bureaucratic side of the equation. And again, they have their opinions, or the ones that obviously feel that this is a great thing coming. When did you get the revelation in your life that there's a whole nother side to this that needs to be talked about, the so-called dark side of technocracy, in your opinion?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, you're absolutely right. When I studied in college economics, and then I got out of college, and after I worked for a while, I ran into Professor Anthony Sutton, economist from Stanford University, but highly esteemed scholar, I might add. He took me kind of under his wing. We wrote some books together about the Trilateral Commission. He filled in my education that I missed in college. College wasn't useful for me. The economics that I learned there were basically Keynesian economics. It was totally useless, I found out quickly. But he wised me up, if you will. He taught me how to do research, how to read so to speak, the tea leaves, And so when I discovered historic technocracy around 2005-06, I realized something was wrong with this whole thing, because the Trilateral Commission said in the first place that they wanted to create a new international economic order. And I had to say, what is that? That's what we struggled back with on the 1970s. What do you mean, new international economic order? Well, I found my answer when I discovered historic technocracy, because that's the only history in all of history. There's only been one economic system started from scratch by engineers and scientists to replace capitalism and free market economics. Only one. And I did a search on it just to make sure I wasn't, getting a hold of some BS or whatever. But indeed, that was a spark for me. I knew that was the race was on at that point. I had to have everything I could get my hands on. I did a lot of original research immediately on technocracy, historic technocracy, to find out what was that movement all about.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating, Patrick, and the phone lines are lighting up here as they always would. I wish, guarantee that, ladies and gentlemen, with a guest like this. But what's interesting when we talk about the whole subject of technocracy, again, I want to offer some positivity, as you are, that this is not a hopeless situation, even though many people may disagree with me. But remember, my job as host is to offer up to you, ladies and gentlemen, great opportunities from people who know more than I do about these subjects and bring them to you in a concise way. And also, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our helmsman, Bill, and the entire staff for making sure that you can be heard, that is, these guests and your questions as good as you would expect, on a station that's heard well over 170-plus stations, or countries, I should say, around the world, and also around the nation. And ladies and gentlemen, you can be part of this radio show at 1-800-848 9222. And others have described this, and I like what they said to me. They call it the Dr. Sky Experience, an antidote to negative news fatigue. We try to bring you some positivity. Let's go to one of the callers right now, even though we're close to the bottom of the hour hard break. Let's welcome Anthony on line 2, Westchester County. You're on with Patrick Wood. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you. My opinion is one of the ways to thwart this out-of-control AI stuff is Congress needs to pass legislation to protect all Americans' data, their biometric data, their DNA data. End of story. Has to be done.
Yeah, sounds good. Patrick, I wonder why that hasn't been done.
I totally agree.
Common sense.
Absolutely, right? Positively agree.
Anthony, any further comment on this? I think you knocked one out of the park here if we were playing baseball. That was pretty good.
Yes. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's our very private now, and it's digitalized, so in digital form. So it needs to be protected the way our privacy is protected under the Fourth Amendment for the search and seizure. It's the same thing, but the Congress is not doing anything about it, and that's what we need to talk up.
Mm-hmm. Anthony, you say it so well, and I appreciate you being part of the Dr. Sky Experience.
Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, we need more people like Anthony to jump in on this, and it's something here, one little show at a time, as they say. How do you eat an elephant? Mm-hmm. It's one bite at a time, and I don't want to eat any elephant, but no, isn't that true? I mean, that's a good descriptive way of going to solve a problem. Right. But let's leave the elephant intact. They've had enough problems of people attacking them and trophy hunters over the course of time. Patrick, this is interesting, very much so, because when we come back here in just a few minutes at that particular time after the hard break, I want to get into this lengthy discussion with you. And I say lengthy, not out of boredom, but out of absolute incredible research that you've done, something called Pax Silica. And the subtitle of the article is Who Owns the Rails of AI Civilization? Can you tease us Pax Silica in just a couple of minutes and save the meat and potatoes when we return on the other side of the break? Tell us about Pax Silica.
Meat and potatoes. This is an operation or a declaration that was hosted by the State Department through President Trump, and we see it's being used around the world to export our AI technology to many companies or many countries in the world, especially our allies.
Interesting. And there's going to be a lot more revealed here on the Dr. Sky Experience about Pax. By the way, it's spelled P-A-X, Silica, S-I-L-I-C-A, an article that you can read in detail. And it's a very lengthy article. We may not have time to go through every iteration of it, but we'll give you, ladies and gentlemen, the key points of what that whole story is all about. Learn so much more about Patrick Wood as you can go to his website, technocracy.news. And Patrick, when we talk about this Pax Silica, you have an event coming up here, free of charge to the audience, that they can actually participate in kind of like an open source seminar. Tell us about that.
And indeed, on Monday, this coming Monday, we're going to be on YouTube. You can probably search for it for Patrick Wood or Courtney Turner. You'll find it and hop on. It's going to be 3 Pacific time. That would make 4 Mountain, 5 Central, and 6 Eastern. We'll be on for at least 2 hours with our people, whoever shows up, and we're going to talk about this whole thing.
Interesting. A much more iteration of this whole Pax Silica, which, of course, many people are hearing about it for the first time, Patrick, and we do appreciate you. We see your calls coming in. Line number 3, Max in Manhattan. We'll go to you folks after we come back from the hard break. And line 4, Frank in Maine. And yes, all of you out there, you're welcome to be part of the Theater of the Mind, as we like to call it. Why do we call it Theater of the Mind? Because it's an opportunity about imagination. You can't see the images, and obviously this is radio, very powerful signal. Included in that is the necessity for powerhouse AM radio stations and the continuance of AM radio, as the president, of course, believes, President Trump believes very strongly in the continuation of AM radio, as many people do, and that, obviously, goes back a long, long time. What was the first time and when you listened to radio? Remember, it probably was AM radio. a vital and important part of the communication system, not only of this part of the United States, all parts of the nation, and all parts of the world, because when crisis arrives, don't forget, AM radio is your best friend. We'll be right back here on the Dr. Sky Experience with our special guest, Patrick Wood. 1-800-848-9222 gets you into the theater of the mind. We'll be right back.
This is the Dr. Sky Experience. Always look to the sky. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
This is Tom Harris of the International Climate Science Coalition. Our group is nonpartisan. We have people from across the political spectrum who are trying to find out what's really happening in climate change science. Are we causing climate change so significant that it's worth $1 billion a day as we're currently spending across the world on the issue? We don't think so. Check out our website at climatescienceinternational.org, and you're listening to the Dr. Sky Show.
Machines like objectives and not other perspectives. A quote from author James Tunney, author of a book entitled Empire of Scientism, The Dispiriting Conspiracy and Inevitable Tyranny of Scientocracy. 33 minutes after the hour, our special guest, and we welcome here as a friend, not only here on the Dr. Sky Experience, but in other venues in our Theater of the Mind. He continues with us as we continue to talk with him about great information. But before we go to the whole Pax Silica story, let's go to line number 3, Max in Manhattan. You've been patient. Good morning. Thanks for being with us. Your commentary.
Yes, Dr. Sky, Patrick Wood, thank you for taking my call. The underground conversation that has been surfacing when it comes to these AI football fields is that all of this is being planned due to some sort of pole shift that's occurring. And I wasn't able to put it together how one has to do with the other, but they seem to come from a fairly reliable source, and it's something that we should consider. And Patrick Wood, what do you think of this?
Interesting.
I missed a word in the first part of the conversation. What he's talking
repeat it,
about.
Max, if you would. Repeat your commentary there.
Sure. It seems that there's an underground conversation concerning these AI plants, and that is that there is a pole shift that is occurring, and we're scrambling to try to put things together.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, you're talking about the North Pole shift?
Yes. There's two of them. There's magnetic. Yes. There's magnetic, and there's, of course, the magnetic one is the most problematic for many people. But go ahead, Patrick. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly how that fits in, I really don't know. I see the phenomena. I don't like it. I mean, I don't think it can be caused by humans necessarily, but if the magnetic North Pole switches, that's kind of what scientists are saying at this point. If it switches to the south versus the north, it's going to be kind of upsetting for the whole planet, I think. So I don't know if that can happen. Maybe it's happened in history. Maybe Dr. Sky can explain it better than I can.
Well, not better, Patrick. I can give a little more information on it, Max. It's what the geomagnetic pole. We're talking magnetic pole shift, and it's so interesting because as it creeps slowly. If you take a look at the map right now, it's not centered exactly at the 90-degree point on the Earth, North Pole. Yeah. It kind of wanders. It was in Canada. It moved up, of course, near the pole and around, and I believe it's arcing over it towards Siberia. But the problematic thing there is I don't know how that would affect these data centers unless they have something that we don't know about. But it's not for a long time any other polar magnetic shift on the Earth. Thank God, right, Patrick and Max? That it's not going to happen. A polar shift, magnetically reversal, that's not going to happen anytime soon. Have we confused you more, Max, or are we doing okay?
Well, I mean, there's also they had this on video also of Russians, the Russian government moving a lot of their agricultural fields to different locations than they were originally in. So it looks like someone has their eyes open concerning this, and the Ruskies, whether you like them or not, usually do have their eyes open.
Well, Max, one more comment on this. For anybody who's an aviator out there, if you have runways, 24R, left, whatever numbers, they're apparently going to have to change, obviously, over time as this magnetic pole shift takes place. And again, it may not seem a lot to many people, but when you're an airline pilot and you're flying on instrumentation, you want to make sure that you go to the right runway. And even if you were off by, a couple of 100 feet, if you had bad weather, there's a concern. But I can't relate it, but your points are very well taken, Max. Always appreciate you. Thank you for calling. Appreciate your time. Let's go up to the state of Maine right now, ladies and gentlemen. Line number 4, Frank in Maine. Good morning. You're on the Dr. Sky Experience, and you also may have some information about what? Your governor either approving or disapproving a moratorium on data centers. Good morning, Frank. How you doing?
Absolutely, Dr. Sky. Always a pleasure to talk to you and your guest.
Thank you.
Yes, our governor is about to sign a moratorium on data centers, and also Governor Mills, and also on farmland, which is scary enough. But nevertheless, my question is about health, human health, and these data centers. And what is has there been any research on the impact of human health in relation to these data centers? My question number 1, I have 2 questions actually, but that's question number 1. Has there been any research or a correlation between cancer or whatever disease and these data centers and the power they release?
Patrick?
Okay. Do you have another question also, or should I just handle this?
I do have another question. Absolutely. I wanted to make it part. Okay. My second question is with the relation of farmland, which, by the way, in Maine, there is a lot of forests that they want to clear for these data centers, which we're trying to oppose. My question is, what will it do to the wildlife? I mean, there's bats that rely on sonar, and there's other animals that rely on smells, and they have instincts that relate. How will it affect the animals and the wild animals? Will it change their behaviors, and will it change their dynamics?
Well, you bring up some interesting points, Frank.
Great question.
Go ahead,
question. They're both related.
He's a regular caller, and he always brings us some good information for this.
Excellent. There are 2 questions. They both relate to health of either humans or animals. Let's take it just on that basis alone. There have been lots of pre-studies at this point to measure the impact, for instance, of radiation, of heat sinks, because these these data centers put off a huge amount of heat. This one in Utah, 40,000 acres. If that actually gets built, it might even change the local climate with all the heat this is going to generate. Then you have the business of the hum. The hums are, we've seen them in, for instance, the windmills that they've erected all over the world. These things are just absolutely destroying the environment around them, because animals and humans can't handle that constant hum. So it tends to drive you crazy, but it can give you psychological things as well. So would wildlife be disturbed? Absolutely, positively. They didn't ask for it for sure, but if they're anywhere around, living around the fence line of one of these data centers, there's going to be trouble. There's no doubt it's going to be trouble. So these studies haven't been done in advance. They should have been, but they haven't been at this point. So this is a great question you bring to the table here. We need studies on this desperately.
Well, Frank, you're always insightful, but I didn't know this, and I know Patrick. Just a last comment from a response from both sides. Is it true, I think I'm hearing you saying, that the governor of your state of Maine has signed the moratorium, or is that, did I hear you correctly? I just wanted to hear.
No. It's in the process of.
In the process of, okay.
but the governor is running. Well, stepped off of the Senate race because her poll numbers are so low that she can't win. But that's neither here nor there. Okay. She is a very progressive, person who is milling about this bill becoming a law, and it's very scary. But I appreciate the answer, and I would like to write my congressman up here, who is Congressman Goldman, about research on these data centers to see what they'll do, what the effects are, because
sure.
I notice about human health and cancer or whatever. But I appreciate it. I know you have a lot of calls, Dr. Sky. I don't want to leave you, and you have a good night.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Frank. And, I may be joining you, seriously, up in Maine during the heat and obstreperous heat here in Phoenix when it reaches in July, right, Patrick? 122 degrees or more. We may want to come to the beautiful piney woods of Maine. So consider us as maybe being stowaways up in your area. But thank you, Frank in Maine. Appreciate your time with us. Interesting enough.
By the way, Dr. Sy, let me encourage him to write his governor and encourage her to get sign this bill. It's already passed, I think, the House and Senate up there. It's just
That's
waiting
amazing.
for her to sign it. And there's great hope that she will at this point. She is progressive. But let me tell you, Tucson, Arizona is the most progressive place you'll see anywhere in the country. They sent a data center packing with 500 plus angry citizens that went into the city council and caused them or appealed them.
Well, it's good, Patrick, to
run
hear
this thing out of town.
Right. It's not a partisan thing. You can be on the Democratic side. You can be on the Republican side. You can be independent. It's about the future of what's going to happen. And just like the metamorphosis of the butterfly, and again, that's a beautiful thing in nature, but do we singularly want to become transformed into something that we never were asked our opinion of? That's the whole concept here. And quickly, ladies and gentlemen, as we move through time and space, stay tuned tomorrow for the Dr. Sky Experience. Saturday midnight to 2 a.m. Sunday, our theme, American Exceptionalism. How about that one? Celebrating Armed Forces Weekend. Special guest Andy Ross. You'll hear about him. He's a patriot, public speaker, chasing the American dream. What a musician. And he's burning with patriotic fuel. And then in hour number 2, we continue on the subject by your request, ladies and gentlemen. We talk with retired United States Navy intelligence captain Doug Cupo, a MUFON investigator, on his deep dive. This guy is really good on the latest government documents on the UFO situation, and also his analysis of UFO legend Robert Lazar and some of the claims that have been made there. That and so much more here on the Dr. Sky Experience. We like to call it Theater of the Mind, and some have said, well, this particular radio show could be classified as the Dr. Sky Experience, an antidote to negative news fatigue. If you're tired of negative news, we try to balance it out. We will be right back.
This is the Dr. Sky Experience. Always look to the sky. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
Hi, it's KC from KC and the Sunshine Band. You're listening to Dr. Sky Experience on 77 WABC. Get up and shake your booty, because that's the way I like it.
Conformity is the tool of the tyrant. What one chooses to conform to is critical. The empire now rules by information superhighways to our soul. Another incredible quote from James Tunney. His other book, Tech Bondage, Slavery of the Human Spirit. 47 minutes after the hour, Patrick Wood, of course, is with us, as he is every month, sharing with you information about technocracy and transhumanism. Let's continue with the callers. I know we promised everybody to hear about Pax Silica, but we do have plenty of time here, Patrick, and that one will probably take us a good time, an amount of time, into hour number 2. They've been waiting patiently in the Theater of the Mind. We welcome them in. Line number 2, Martin in upstate New York. Good morning. How you doing up there in upstate New York?
I'm doing okay, Dr. Sky. How are you?
I'm okay out here, burning up. It was 101 degrees today, but we've only touched the tip of the...
Oh, no, that's too hot.
It is.
Wow, where do you get Casey from Casey and the Sunshine Band? That's amazing. You get everybody.
Thank you. You just call them up and you ask them to go on. No, it takes a lot of time. That one took... not bragging here. I can't brag. But that one took a good month to get, but they're coming into all locations. They were just in Morristown, New Jersey last week. And they become a good friend.
The 70s, the disco thing, I wasn't into it in the 70s, but nostalgically speaking, I kind of missed the disco thing, kind of.
Hey.
And Casey, they were good, Casey and the Sunshine Band.
They're still good, my friend. So how are you handling this technocracy thing, Martin? Tell us. What's going on?
Well, not well. I'm kind of not into technology or technocracy. I kind of prefer radio. I stopped watching TV now and just listen to radio because, as you say, the theater of the mind.
Yeah.
You have
it's
to.
all about
one has to use their imagination.
There you go. That's the word. Absolutely.
You listen to a good radio host like you, and he paints a picture. He paints a picture in words. People today, they are used to seeing pictures provided for them, and it's so you don't have to use your imagination. So they become dumbed down, and they don't know how to use their imagination.
You're right, Martin, because what is it? Imagination is freedom of the mind. Isn't that true? See, we can think what we want, and nobody now has control. Patrick, we get these great callers. Talk about what Martin's saying. This is fascinating.
Indeed. I just got to agree all over the place. Yeah, he's great.
It's incredible. Martin, I appreciate it. You have any other question? You've got a moment. We don't want to cut people off.
I don't have a question, but as far as the internet, if you ask somebody today directions to go someplace, they can't tell you because everybody's got that GPS. All they do is plug in the...
Hey.
And I want to know directions to get someplace. They can't tell me because they're just following the GPS everywhere they go.
Boy, I like you, Martin. The love of my life is Diana, and she's really high tech. So we get in the car, right, Patrick? I mean, you haven't met her, and she's got that GPS going, and I'm over there going, look, I know these roads back and forth. Well, I don't. So leave me alone, she'll say. And she's probably right, Martin? You can never upstage. You always say yes, honey, I guess. Is that correct? There you go. Martin, thanks for being with us. Appreciate your time.
Let me say, you can't find a paper map anymore either.
That's right.
Like we used to get, from the service stations and stuff.
AAA. I used to be the best guy in the world. I'd go down there and use my membership, and I had maps from every corner of the earth. It was even the stars on the planets. It was great. There you go.
Can't find
Martin, thanks for calling us up there in upstate New York. Let's go to line number 3 as we move to the top of hour number 1. Line number 3, we welcome Kristen in Manhattan. Good morning. How are you, ma'am?
Who are you talking? Christine, you said?
Oh, Christine. It shows up as Kristen. I'm sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. I'm listening to this fascinating and horrifying show because, again, I think of Einstein and his famous comment, the difference between genius and mediocrity is that genius knows its limits. And when you talk about these technologies that are coming out, nobody knows what the hell they are. Nobody understands where they're going, what the results will be. We see some terrifying changes in climate and in wildlife. I spend a lot of time out in the woods, and I've seen some stuff. And I'm terrified because they clearly don't know what they're doing and they don't care. I don't know where they get the money and the power from to do what they're doing. But somebody's got to stop it.
Wow, Christine. And it is Christine, correct? We had it wrong, and I apologize. You're right.
Yeah,
Patrick, she's saying it right. We got to put a foot brake or some kind of a handbrake or some kind of a brake.
We have at least 3 people now who are signing on. They don't know it maybe, but they're signing on to the resistance to put a stop at this stuff. Somebody has to stop it. You're absolutely right. There was no consent form delivered to the public about any of this stuff. And this is the travesty of technocracy. These people, they get this idea in their head. Well, they're just going to go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter if anybody complains. and they look at the people as basically the morons of the society. So you'll never see a consent form coming out of anybody. And this is one of the problems. People are waking up to what's going on and say, hey, wait a minute. What about the wildlife? What about the environment? Shouldn't these people be reined in just on that alone? They should be. But we have to get together as Americans to put a stop to it.
Christine, thank you for your insightful comments. It's much appreciated here because the whole world just heard what you said, and it's very impacting. Thanks for being part of the Dr. Sky experience, Christine. Let's go to line number 4 before the hour runs out. Stu in Brooklyn. You've been patient. Good morning. And what's your concerns about this subject?
Good morning, gentlemen. I hear all the negativity about wasting data centers, power demand. There's a very easy solution. We just move everything to the moon. You have unlimited solar power, cooling,
right.
And
move it to the moon.
Pick your spot. There's plenty of space.
Yeah.
And no voters up there that say no.
Nobody right now, but see, that's the next high ground, obviously. You know, we've heard the word about space, the final frontier, of course, sci-fi wise. But hey, you know, in tongue-in-cheek, no, you're right. I mean, we want to be protected from this. But let me say this, and I want to say this to you, Stu, and to everybody listening, and of course to Patrick. I'm not against technology. I might have my concerns, but who cares what I think? It's what you think, ladies and gentlemen, in this vast audience out there. So, Stu, you bring up some interesting points. It's kind of a little on the comedy side, but hey, who knows? Maybe that is a solution, right, Patrick? Move some of these places far away.
Exactly. Let me just give you not the counter for that, but Elon Musk has a plan to put data centers in space. This is a true story. He's talking about launching satellite that have solar collectors to power the data centers in space, and they don't need any cooling. That's one of the problems that they have on Earth. There's no water to go around, at least not enough. So his idea is now to put them in space. I don't like that idea at all. But he's talking about it. If he gets a wild hair to do it, I think we'll probably see some types of data centers moving into space. That's
and what goes up must come down, right? So if it's in low Earth orbit, God help us if one of these giant data centers comes crashing down. That makes a much more magnificent, magnanimous problem. But Stu in Brooklyn, thanks for your insight. It's a future of science. And maybe a solution to put these places in a place that's safer than having it done right here. Line number 5 closes out the hour. Kurt in New Jersey, you've been patient. You got a couple of minutes before we go to the top of the hour. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you. Well, besides your comment on AAA and the maps and all that other good stuff, we do lose a bit as we progress through. We lose pieces of culture, and besides, Federico Fagan, I'm sure you're familiar with him, who created the first microprocessor back in the 70s, and his views on AI development. Same thing with Stephen Hawking, thinking that will be the end of the human race. And he also corrected Einstein. So, you got to look at it from their perspective. However, we don't even have the electrical power to our grid is so dilapidated and so in need of improvement and upgrades.
You are right.
Centers,
yes.
So these data centers they have to have their own power. And the other piece of this is as these chips become more and more developed, just like the onsemi came out with one last year, which uses a graphene, it's a silicon graphene. So what happens, that uses 50% of the chips, and this is in development, still moving on, but they've conquered that piece. They use 50% of the power. So as things progress, these things become less and less obtrusive, but we don't have the power. They have to have their own power plants. In the cooling systems, you have cold loop, you have glycol systems, you have closed loop systems. There's many different types of cooling that occurs. It doesn't necessarily have to, and it shouldn't.
Sure.
take the water from a community, and that should be, part of it. You got to provide your own power, and you're going to have to come up with your own solution. If you give them the problem, they'll find the solution. The technology will, or imagination and creativity and science will find the solution.
Well, thank you,
So
Kurt.
gotta
I hate to
limit
cut anybody short, but the clock rules here. You're insightful, and you're right on measure, my friend, talking about some of the details behind what goes on in these data centers and the whole world of this data communication and this relentless ability for people to become into the digital world. Thank you, Kurt. Sorry to cut you short, but the clock rules. That's not an excuse. That's a fact. Patrick, we'll continue in hour number 2. And ladies and gentlemen, still time, 1-800-848-9222 to express your opinions, your concerns. And of course, as Patrick is saying too, people can do things about this, at least as an organized group of people, doing it nonviolently to protest if they want to so do that, write their legislatures, or do other things to make sure that we are not turned into the metamorphosis of a butterfly, even though that's a beautiful thing in nature. But we have to wonder about, did anybody ask us about being changed? I don't like that. More with Patrick Wood on the Dr. Sky Experience as we move from hour number 1 to hour number 2. 1-800-848-9222. We will be right back.
Look to the sky. The Dr. Sky Experience is on the air. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
You've chosen the powerhouse blowtorch signal of Talk Radio 77 WABC. Far and wide, we thank you. From all around the nation, around the world, and who knows, ladies and gentlemen, even out to the cosmos. Proudly broadcasting from the center of the universe, New York City, to the nation and the world. Welcome to the hour number 2, as we call it. The Dr. Sky Experience, if you're a first-time listener, or one in continuance. A show that talks about the mysteries from the realms of astronomy, space, aviation, weather, celebrity guests, and stories of American exceptionalism. We like to call it a theater of the mind of sorts, and many people have described the show, and they say something like this. The Dr. Sky Experience is an antidote to negative news fatigue, if you're tired of the negativity. And as the esteemed Steve Allen once said, radio is theater of the mind, but television, in his opinion, is theater of the mindless. What say you on that? As we continue with this weekend's experience, we talk with Patrick Wood, a man who's at technocracy.news, the author of many books. His specialization is stories of technocracy and transhumanism. Patrick, welcome back. Exciting. Lots of people interested in this. And if I may take liberty of reading, yes, I may take liberty of reading. I just want to. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go for it. I know where you're going.
No, that's okay. I want to read something from one of your articles and take the liberty of doing it. The 20th century order ran on oil, steel, sea lanes, central banks, and military alliances. The 21st century order is being reorganized around compute, semiconductors, critical minerals, energy, data centers, logistic corridors, payment rails, and trusted capital. This is not rhetoric. It is now policy architecture. The State Department calls it Pax Silica, a U.S.-led AI and supply chain framework built around secure technology supply chains, economic security, artificial intelligence, critical minerals, semiconductors, energy, manufacturing infrastructure, and trustworthy systems. Patrick, you wrote the article. Tell us more about this whole story of Pax Silica, because it relates very much, ladies and gentlemen, to what just happened within the last 48 hours, where our president, Donald John Trump, meeting the leader of China and bringing along a plethora of individuals from the tech world. This is amazing. I couldn't believe what I saw, all those people. But I don't think, Patrick, they all got off Air Force One, right? You wouldn't put all those people.
No, they didn't.
I would think for safety reasons you wouldn't dare do that, right? But go ahead.
Probably not. Most of them flew in their own planes.
I would imagine. They had to get clearance from the Chinese to land in these big locations. But no, to me, on a real serious note, I can't imagine. That was just so incredible. You had the world's powerhouses in those worlds, in their realms, right there. Tell us what this whole means so people can understand what's going on with Pax Silica.
What this whole program started, the declaration started with the State Department last December. And when they rolled it out, it was kind of curious because it wasn't a treaty. They didn't say it was a treaty. It wasn't even an agreement. They called it a declaration. But basically what it said to any country that wanted to join the declaration, they said, if you want to join, we'll give you everything that we have on AI, all of the technology, be at your disposal. We'll give you the latest the latest technology, and keep giving it to you. AI data centers, the operating system, the applications, you name it. You can have it all. But only if you agree that you won't misuse it. In other words, you follow our terms of service. And so all of a sudden, multiple countries just jumped at the chance to get into this declaration. Mm-hmm. And they, I could see where they want to get their hands on what we have. But the reason that the administration did that was to entice them to be part of our system with AI, because it's all tied together. All these servers will be tied together. So if any country that takes our technology, they have to answer back to the home base, which is in the United States. You see how devious this is. So when they went to the UAE, for instance, that was the first signatory almost. They went to Qatar. They went to UK. They signed in. Other countries as well. So what this did, as far as isolating China has spent billions of dollars to create this, what they call the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. There's a trade routes around the world who would benefit China. Well, when the Pax Silica initiative was announced, one by one, China's allies dropped away from them to get signed up with us. You see? So this is a realignment all of a sudden. It's like a dust magnet, if you will. Everybody wanted to be part of what the United States was doing. China couldn't offer that. So, at this point, when Trump went to Washington or to Beijing with all the entourage, basically the proposal is, well, we've cut you off from your oil supply in Venezuela. We've disrupted the oil supply in the Strait of Hormuz and Iran as well, and we've isolated you from your former allies, if you will, like in the Middle East. And all of a sudden, China's left without a hook to hang its coat on.
Sure, it's amazing.
It was very devious how they did this, but the proof is in the eating of the pudding, as they say.
So what is this? Is this like a force? And I'll get into this with you in detail, and I'm sure the callers will want to have their questions as they already are lining up. This is interesting. So I've never seen anything like this. You have a presidential visit, and then all of a sudden, all these dignitaries from all big corporations here, not to go through the whole litany of list, of course, Elon Musk, as he described himself, not he, but from Tesla. Well, what about SpaceX? Apple's Tim Cook, Boeing's Kelly Ortberg, GE Aerospace's Larry Culp, BlackRock's Larry Fink, Blackstone's Steven Schwartzman. The list goes on. I mean, it's just so incredible. So each one of those people have the power in their corporations to what? Build this big cohesive engine, and not to put words in your mouth, what? To have a large-scale control of where the AI architecture goes and prevent any non-signatories from being part of that. So it's like a cabal of people. Well, hopefully they're doing this in the best interest of mankind, but I'm not naive, and nor are you, right?
You might remember a few months ago that President Trump and the State Department were totally against giving China our most advanced computer chips to run AI data centers.
Sure.
There was a blackball against NVIDIA from selling anything to China. And all of a sudden, at the last minute, President Trump convinced Jensen Huang, the leader of the NVIDIA, CEO and chairman, to board Air Force One in Alaska and fly with him to China. And along the way, obviously, they made a deal with Jensen to sell chips now to China. And so the door all of a sudden flip-flopped, but nevertheless, the door is open now for the U.S. and NVIDIA to sell its most advanced chips to China. This shows you the flip-flop that took place. Now, I'm not saying that China has signed on to Pax Silica, but you see the dregs of it at this point. Trump is enticing them. Look, you play ball with us. Join our technocracy, our global technocracy.
Yes.
We'll take care of you with our computer chips and our technology, whatever, to make you more successful.
Well, the metamorphosis is taking shape right in front of our own eyes. But again, you didn't hear this in the mainstream media. You didn't hear that commentary. Nothing like it. But let's go to the callers because they rule. They're in the theater of the mind here, which is about imagination since we can't see the pictures. Go to line number 2, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome Dina. Is that correct? In Maryland. You've been patient. Good morning. Thanks for being part of the show. You're on the air. Do we have Dina? One more time. Dina, you're on the air if you're there.
Oh, it's me? Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry, Dr. Sky. How are you?
I'm doing well, ma'am.
yes.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
Yes, you're so good. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Dr. Sky, I just want to ask you a question. Can you refresh my mind with the word intuition? What is explain intuition for me?
Well, I would think it's the ability to go deeper into subject matters that you don't necessarily, like if you're sitting in a room, let's say, that you have some kind of a sixth sense about something, I would think, an ability to maybe perceive things in a different light than maybe other people do. Maybe everybody has a level of intuition, the ability to recognize or think deeper into something. And that's why we like to call theater of the mind, because it goes into imagination. Patrick, you jump in. You're a scholar on this very subject. I know you certainly do.
Oh, this is a great word for sure, and we're all endowed with intuition. We can sear it, I think, probably minimize it, but this is a trait that you need to hone. And intuition is the thing that keeps you out of danger. For instance, it might keep you in love on the other side, but intuition is a very big part of human existence, I do believe.
Right, and without conscious reasoning, as many people would think, or analytical thought. And that's why, Dina, it relates so much to what we call theater of the mind, because we're not saying we're right on every subject, and we're certainly not we're not selling books, magazines, and things like that, just to make the cash register ring here. But obviously it's not a problem either for those that have those. But any other comment or question that you have? Because we do have a full board of callers.
What about permit? I forgot the word now. Permission.
Premonition. Premonition?
Yes.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. Well, Patrick, why don't you take that one? You're the scholar of these subjects of deep thought too.
Yeah, that's a kind of a spooky word, premonition. It's been misused, I'm sure, in lots of sectors, philosophies around the world. It's a hard thing to say. Some people, if you could say that something was going to happen, then it did happen. You might say, well, I had a premonition that was going to happen or some way or whatever, or harm me some way.
Right, a predictability.
Exactly. So it's kind of hard. It's a hard word to describe, I think. but I would take all of the occultic sense out of it for sure. I do not believe in the occultic use of the word, but nevertheless, it's a word in the English language, and it does communicate a certain thought that you had some type of a sense that something was going to happen. Maybe
right, like
it was
a strong intuitive feeling.
Exactly. Maybe it was intuition that led you to think something might happen, and you had a premonition then.
That's good. Dina, thank you. You bring up some interesting points with the definitions that, you helping us to give the listeners out there a better understanding, and we thank you for being part of the radio show. Let's go to line number 4, Gray in Delaware. You've been patient. Good morning. How are you? Thanks for being here.
Gentlemen, fabulous show. And right now, we're the leaders in artificial intelligence, even though China has their children in school learning artificial intelligence and English. But we are always the leaders, no matter what anybody thinks. We have something that's called grid storage batteries, and our capacities now are unbelievable, where we have more in reserve than we've ever had before, which can balance out any problems of any kind of energy needs with data centers. That is a major breakthrough for us too. That's never talked about. Right. Our capacity to develop new energy sources are unheralded around the world. But the thing is, I like to say to people, we have a system in our country where we actually are turning the country over to the third world. Now, I know Mr. Wood's going to disagree because he has to, but you're turning over technology to the Omars, and yes, you are, if they become the power leaders in the government. Once you leave the government, you take over the military, the sciences, the printing press for $100 bills, and Omar Khattis, Congressman Cortez, Jeffries will be the people in charge of all this stuff. But don't deny that they won't. Once they're the leaders in government, they control everything. They make the rules and the regulations. So forget about, not to forget about, but think about who you're turning this over to, this unbelievable and the most powerful military and atomic arsenal on the planet.
Let me say this to you. I couldn't be more in agreement with you. See, I don't normally talk the things that I've done on shows before, like the Cult to Right show, where we talked about American exceptionalism, which I do talk about in a lighthearted way, about truth, justice, and the American way, and bring on people like that. But I agree with you. America should be the dominant force here, and obviously those that want to take away our sovereignty or the American way, I certainly would agree with you. But I don't want to put Patrick under the bus on this, and he may not just go in. He's not afraid to tell you what he wants to say. So, Patrick, your response, if anything, to what Gray brought to the table.
Well, absolutely. I agree with him. However, we have a force being unleashed on us in this country, the AI force, if you will. It's being run by oligarchs outside of government regulation and oversight. This is a dangerous philosophy, or whatever you want to, however you frame it. It's a dangerous thing to do, to put your trust and just a few billionaire oligarchs to run the country with AI. That's dangerous, in my opinion. But I agree with you. On the other hand, the people of our country need to be involved in the discussion through our designated or elected officials. This is the government that's supposed to protect the people. And if they don't do the job, we suffer out here in the farmland, so to speak, right? So I agree. We have to be responsible for our own outcomes. What's happened with the AI phenomena? It's gone rogue on its own. It can't be controlled at this point by the government. And they bluster that they can, but obviously they can't, because AI is advancing so fast. It's doubling every 4 months right now. That's inconceivable.
I know. We talked about, what was it, Patrick? Not to cut you short. Moore's Law was a different type of transition when technology became obsolete. Now, I can't put words in anybody's mouth, certainly not yours. It's not months. It's probably even days if you look at the AI intercession on this. Who knows, right? Totally amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. This is a dangerous thing. All I'm to say about it is that if we cannot control the technology, eventually they'll use it to eat us. that's
right. Thank you so much. I'm with you, my brother. Hey, look, I talk more about these very subjects, but I do like to concentrate on what they asked me to talk about, and nobody's told me I couldn't talk about it. But stories of American exceptionalism, like tomorrow, doing the great promotion here. We have a gentleman, and this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, is Armed Forces Weekend. How many times do you even hear about it? We'll be talking about it with Andy Ross. He's an unbelievable guy. He's like a Ted Nugent, but he wouldn't like me saying that because he's a bow hunter, a patriot, a public speaker, chases the American dream, and he burns patriotic fuel. He's there to talk about the wonderful experiences and the salute to our military members in all of the 6 branches of the military. The newest, of course, is Space Force. Let's say good morning as we continue to move down the line here. Let's see who we have. We have so many callers. We're just so grateful for this. Let's see if we got, but let's go to line number 5. Carl in New Jersey. You've been patient. Sorry, I almost missed you there. How you doing? Carl, you're on the air. Going once. I guess we don't have Carl. Okay, let's move on to line number 3, gentlemen. And we want to thank our helmsmen. They're very busy back there maintaining all the wonderful callers. Line number 3, we welcome Pamela, New Jersey. Good morning. Thanks for being on the show.
Good morning. Good morning. I've always been a conservative. I understand we need a certain amount of oil so we don't die from the coal. But I think we're going down a real bad hill here. I know an older Eastern Tennessee couple who got ripped off by the realtor, didn't tell them an AI center was going up in a house they just bought.
That's terrible.
And now they have to listen to the hum and everything. And they're all going up in rural areas of New Jersey. A shout out to Andover for fighting against it. Good for you. And now we learn we've got plenty of oil, but because of the world commodity market, our prices are going up. I got ripped off again with buying a pizza the other day because there's no pennies anymore, so they took 7 cents from me. Our cities are dirty and filthy, and our utilities are sky high. And how is this helping us? Except for people on the stock market making a lot of money off of this. And Warren County, beautiful Warren County, 206 up there and all along in Stanhope, New Jersey, they're building these dirty, filthy AI centers, and they're going to kill animals, change our environment. And how is that helping us? How is that helping us? My life isn't any different. My town and city is crowded, filthy, dirty, nobody following the speed limit. Our life is getting more and more rotten while the rich are getting richer.
Pamela.
And this is from a conservative.
You're right, but let me ask you: Do I have a sister that I don't know about? Her name is Pamela in New Jersey. Wow, Pamela. Let me tell you something. That was a lot of power. You know how many calories you just expended out into the universe? That's powerful stuff. And you're right on. Patrick, she walks right into the theater of the mind, and she's noticed immediately because of her interesting commentary. Patrick, tell us about your response here. It's always a good one.
I know. This is the proverbial chick, the kitchen sink. She's covered it all in one statement. Wow. Number one, we're kind of talking about AI today. Yes, people need to fight against these stupid AI data centers. And as far as health effects, the story that you have about this farmer who maybe he's not a farmer, but this person bought a house and all of a sudden there's a data center right next door. The hum is driving them crazy.
Oh, you're right.
I guarantee you they'll leave their house at some point. The thing will be condemned.
That's a horrible thing.
Is
Pamela,
so wrong. Wrong.
Wow, Pamela. I hope you continue to call our show because we need this kind of energy here, and I thank you for being part of the show. Couldn't agree with you more, Pamela. So let's continue as we go to the heartbreak at the bottom of the hour here. Let's go to line number 2 and welcome Dominic in New Jersey in Needletown. I understand you're in Needletown. Good morning, Dominic. How are you?
Yes, you're right. Hello, gentlemen. Dr. Sky, Patrick, another great show. And I am using my imagination here, and I'm trying to go a little bit out of the thought process here of what you've been speaking about with AI. I personally feel as much as AI is doing harm to our environment and all the other things that your guests have spoke about here today, I really think that the public, are caught in a crossfire between ourselves and our adversaries worldwide. I think that it's necessary. We're kind of in an arms race with other countries, right? So instead of, if two superpowers in the past ever went into a full conventional war, I don't believe anyone can win a conventional war any longer. If you look at the drones that Iran is using now, they've proven that they can take out pretty much, any of our Tomahawk missiles. If we're trying to shoot our Tomahawk missiles to take out a few of their drones, we've already expended, millions of dollars on a $500 drone.
Yeah,
And then as far as, looking at Taiwan, if a country like China wants to, invade them, they're proving that all they have to do is just pull the plug and sabotage everything. So regular conventional war, I believe, doesn't work anymore. And I think it's all going to come down to cyber attacks. And I feel like we're really at war right now, or a Cold War, or an arms race with China. And I believe that's the reason why Trump went there with all of these technocrats, to kind of show him, this is what we have. This is our might, instead of showing, the Chinese government that we've got tanks and planes and whatnot, which we do. But our technocrats and our companies are really what is going to be fighting theirs in a non-conventional war. And I really think it's kind of necessary, but it's also hurting our environment. I just wanted to get your thought on this arms race, of course.
Well, that's amazing, Dominic.
Alternate arms race.
The clock is running out, but always appreciate all of the callers here. Patrick, I think we've set a record on the Dr. Sky Experience. This is the record. The most phone calls so far to date for this particular show in the 2-hour period. So, Patrick,
wow,
thanks for being a guest.
That's absolutely amazing. Let me put the arms race a little bit in perspective. China has approximately 375 or so AI data centers, actually data centers in general. In America, we have over 4,000 at this point. This is imbalance, obviously. China is not beating us on AI by any stretch of the imagination. They have lots of energy, lots of coal, granted, but they don't have the prowess, the depth of the AI that we have. And one of the reasons I think that Trump has enticed them by selling the latest chips now from NVIDIA to China to develop their data centers. Probably they'll link up with our data centers at some point, but I'll say that's my comparison. I don't think there's an arms race with China at this point. We're so far ahead of them on any measure. It's not even funny. This is a statistic you can look at yourself. By the way, search for it on Google or whatever. You'll find out what I'm talking about.
Interesting. Patrick, and first of all, let me thank Dominic in New Jersey for being part of the show and all these great callers. I mean, Patrick, we're so fortunate to have people that are in the theater. And in just a moment, what we're going to do, like they do in any good theater, I guess they don't do it necessarily now, we're going to take an intermission, and we recommend everybody go to the snack bar. And that's a good way to put it, right? But I'm thinking more in terms of drive-in movies of the days. But hey, go to the snack bar, get yourself something to drink, and continue here. Many callers still coming in to the Theater of the Mind here, and we will get to you, I promise, and that's a commitment that I'll keep, at 1-800-848-9222. As we continue to talk with you, Patrick, we've just touched the surface here. We have about 20 different topics here, and I'd like to kind of prioritize some of those in the last half hour. And, of course, thank you. Technocracy.news is how you can find much more about Patrick Wood. You got about a minute. Tell us about any new book that you have coming out. I understand something's in the works.
Well, I know my latest book here, The New Economics of Technocracy, subtitled "You Will Own Nothing." This is the follow-on book to The Final Betrayal. There was so much stuff that happened after the release last November of our first book. I had to write another book, and I'm not sure if another book will be required by the end of this year with stuff moving so fast as it is.
Well, keep them coming. More with Patrick Wood and you, ladies and gentlemen, in our Theater of the Mind. The Dr. Sky Experience continues here on this powerhouse signal blowtorch. We call it Talk Radio 77 WABC. We'll be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience is on the air. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
Hi, this is Jim McCarty speaking of the Yardbirds. I've got a great new book out called Nobody Told Me, and you're listening to the Dr. Sky Show. Always remember to keep your eyes to the skies.
Globalization was a tactic rather than a strategy. The strategy was control and termination of Homo sapiens as we know it. Another incredible quote from James Tunney, author of many books, Empire of Scientism, The Dispiriting Conspiracy and Inevitable Tyranny of Scientocracy. Patrick Wood, he, of course, has given us and broke a little record here on our show, and we keep track of this. More calls than any other of our shows, even though we appreciate all of our great guests in the short period of time. Why? Because these subjects are obviously of importance to people. Like that of the metamorphosis, I should say, of a butterfly. That's a beautiful thing in nature, but do you want to be metamorphosized without your permission? And it seems like that's happening. Patrick, this is a fascinating bunch of topics here, and I want to get on to one here and your opinion on this. You talk about a concept called tokenization, and you have an article about real estate. Define to this audience what tokenization is so people understand this. And then again, I have a couple of comments about that too. It's interesting. Tokenization. You mentioned before something called a future book that might have a tagline, "You'll be happy. You'll own nothing, and you'll be happy." So what's tokenization?
That's the title of my book, by the way. It really is.
Hey, I came up with a good one. I didn't even know that. There you go.
Well, I know that the subtitle, The New Economics of Technocracy, You Own Nothing. The reason I wrote this simple article is people have been asking me forever, tell me what tokenization is all about. So here's the title of my article. It's on the homepage right now. Tokenization, a 7th grade explanation. Okay, so I'm
all ears. Go right ahead, my friend.
I'm sorry. I don't want to offend anybody, but this is what it took, and lots of people chimed in immediately. Oh, thank you for giving me an explanation that I can understand. Nevertheless, let me tell you what tokenization is about, and I'll use the example of your house, for instance. And I'm not saying your house is going to be condemned or put in the ether sphere or whatever. I'm just giving an example, okay? Say you own a nice house, maybe $1 million, and you have an opportunity to tokenize your house, and you can split it into 1 million different shares, if you will, and sell those shares around the world to anybody who wants to buy them. Sure. And once that process is done, you might have some tokens in your pocket, but you're not going to own the house at that point because you just gave all the wealth away that's associated with your house. And here's the problem. You can't, when a property is tokenized, its value is lifted out of the property, spread to the four winds, and what you're left with at this point, here's the scenario. You can't live in your token. You can't improve it, fence it, or hand the keys to your children. You hold a digital entry on somebody else's computer system at that point that says you have a claim on a fraction of the house. If the house burns down, gets condemned, or gets seized by a government, your token doesn't protect you in any way like a deed or insurance policy would. The token is only as good as the platform it sits on and the rules that platform enforces. Does this make sense?
Well, it does, but on the opposite side of the equation, I've been listening and speaking with individuals and doing some research on my own that, let's say, in the securities world, there obviously are some benefits in this new economy for people. So, in your opinion, though, you're kind of delineating. You're talking about one sector for tokenization. I mean, what about the people that have an ability to show people how they can create wealth through this? And that may be an experience that many people who maybe say didn't have a gigantic portfolio now have the ability to participate in an economy and create some wealth for themselves. What say you?
It might be the case that somebody will make some money along the way. I wouldn't put a bet against it necessarily, but the problem with tokenization is that it strips the property rights away from the original owner, and whatever they might have as a user, like as a renter or a leaser or whatever on a property, you'll have usage rights, but you will not own the property yourself outright. This is sweeping the world. Larry Fink at BlackRock has said multiple times in public that everything that can be tokenized will be tokenized. And then just incidentally, 3 weeks ago, the New York Stock Exchange, actually the firm that owns the New York Stock Exchange, they said blatantly they're going to tokenize the entire stock, every stock on the New York Stock Exchange. We're talking trillions of dollars of assets. It's incredible.
Interesting. So go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you short.
No, let's get a caller in.
Let's go to line number 5. He's been patient. Robert in New York City. You're on with Patrick Wood. Thanks for your patience. Robert, are you with us?
Hello, Dr. Sky. How are you?
Doing well, sir.
Thank you for taking my call. And Patrick, it's a pleasure to be speaking with you. And I'm very interested in your views on tokenization. And just to pick up on, I guess, the last conversation you had with Dr. Sky here, I would agree with the comment you made about Larry Fink. Larry Fink has said that, and it has said as much as anything that can be tokenized will be tokenized. I think that's a positive development for some of the reasons that Dr. Sky was alluding to. There are a lot of assets out there that don't really have access to investors. I would tie this in with a comment that you and Dr. Sky and other callers have made about oligarchies and about concentration of wealth. If you look at President Trump's trip to China, he brought the top executives with him from the major companies. We have a problem in this country when it comes to getting capital to perhaps the most important sector, which happen to be private businesses. And in this country, we have over 33 million businesses. Less than 1% of them are public. And so the balance of those businesses really don't have access to the capital markets. And tokenization and coupled with alternative trading systems give them an opportunity to present themselves to investors. So this way, both investors can benefit by getting in on high growth companies, and the companies themselves can access growth capital. And I'm just curious to get your view on this view.
Interesting.
Thank you for the question. Number one, I understand your position. I've heard this argument made, and it's a good one. But here's what you're going to trade. There'll be a trade-off. We'll put it this way: are you willing to give up the right to own private property in America?
No.
I'll ask that question
not.
to you. Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with tokenization. It will strip Americans of all their property in the end, because property will not be owned by you. Once it's tokenized, you can't claim ownership over that property. It'll be managed by somebody, maybe a management firm or whatever, but you won't own anything at that point. You might have lots of tokens in your pocket. You might have some use of a property because you lease it now, but this will spell the end of private property in America. This is what makes America great in the first place, private property. We can't we can't dare sacrifice the principle of owning private property.
Robert, you get an opportunity to respond here. We're all pressed on time with many callers,
Okay.
but no, you bring up some very insightful points. Please continue.
Thank you, Dr. Sky. So, Patrick, I see it completely from a different perspective. I would say that tokenization reinforces the right of a property holder. And to your point about you losing control, well, you always have control because you don't have to sell those tokens. You can tokenize the security, and there are a lot of value in simply doing that, but you don't have to sell the tokens to anyone. You can maintain ownership 100%. Tokens are good for people who are looking to sell assets or a interest in those assets. You could sell all of them, or you could sell part of them. Would be a great way to perhaps monetize an art collection, a coin collection, or a private business.
Robert in New York City, thank you so much for bringing some other insight into the picture here. And we do appreciate your calls and everybody here on the Dr. Sky Experience. I'm going to go before the break here and switch gears here. We go to our social media side of the equation. And we have a gentleman here, Patrick, Buzz from Kailua Kona, Hawaii, is texting me here on this particular format. This is the powerful signal of WABC going everywhere. And pretty soon we'll get one from the moon. But the gentleman there, Buzz, asked this question regarding water consumption for data center, the one in Utah. Is the water usage one-time? Is it a one-time use, or can it be chilled in-house and recirculated? Seems like a reasonable method to him. What would you say to Buzz out there in the great state of Hawaii?
Apparently, there's no process to recycle the water 100%. There was a water study done for the Utah facility. Remember that this is 40,000 acres. That's an incredible amount of land. There was a water study done, but lo and behold, the citizens of the county can't get it sprung from whoever has their hands on it at this point. They're very livid over this because nobody will address the issue with them, how much water exactly is going to be consumed. So the study is there. The citizens know it. They're demanding it be released. The authorities are digging into their heels into the ground, and they're not doing it yet. Maybe they'll do it with enough pressure. I don't know. But it needs to be released for sure.
Buzz in Hawaii, if you're listening, I'm sure you are. Thank you very much. It's a lot earlier in the evening, I gather, there, and as it is across time zones around the country. Isn't that amazing, Patrick? I mean, we're getting people from all over the place, and that's what we would expect. That is, when you have this powered blowtorch signal. You know, going on what, like 105 years of talk radio, 77 WABC. Wow. I grew up with it, many people there, of course, and a little shout-out to owner and operator John Katsimatidis for giving me the opportunity to sit behind the microphone, and also from the executive staff, Chad Lopez, for making sure that in this particular format, we talk about mysteries, we talk about these different stories in what we like to think of as a theater of the mind. Interesting, ladies and gentlemen, and your calls coming in. 1-800-848-9222. We'll get as many of you on the air as possible between now and the top of the hour. Patrick, I think I've done a terrible job, and I'm just kidding, and not to say I did a wonderful job, being serious, that we have about 15 different topics here that we certainly cannot get to in the time that we have here. So what I'll do, we're about up to the break here, one more time, the book that you've just had about a year ago is what? Give us that information again, and also the event coming up on Monday for people to do a deep dive, more so than the time we had here, into this whole subject of Pax Silica.
Indeed. We're going to have this will be on YouTube. You can go and search for Courtney Turner. That's COURTENAY with an E. And Patrick Wood, I'm there too. And it'll surface immediately, I think. And you just click on the button. That would be, 3:00 Pacific. That would be 6 Eastern, and you can join the conversation. And please do. We want you to come with your questions.
And that's Monday,
we'll
Patrick.
try and answer.
As we go to the break right now,
next one.
We'll be right back with Patrick Wood. Your questions and comments as we extinguish hour number 2. Sad to say, as we move to the top of the new hour. We'll be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience is on the air. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
She can't take any more, Captain. She's gonna blow. You can't mix matter and antimatter gold. You're listening to the Dr. Sky Show.
Our culture is being attacked by every major entity, taking over our unique communities and reducing us to nothing more than numbers. A quote from author Jessica Marie Baumgartner as we continue at 47 minutes after the hour. Patrick, if I may take the liberty, when a lot of people listen and call in about what's going on as we talk about, always remind you to keep your eyes to the skies. Something very interesting will be happening. We have plenty of time to talk about it. How about this? A stage of a SpaceX rocket booster intentionally will be set to hit the moon on August the 5th. This might be a big event for people who have small telescopes or larger ones, an event of seeing just how an impaction on the moon, it creates dust. And that, of course, is important for future space travelers to know what happens when asteroid bodies from space can do damage. Look at all the craters on the moon. For planets, if you look in the northwest after sunset, the mighty planet Venus, the goddess of love, and the planet Jupiter are high up in the northwest. Watch them each evening because they will have a romantic dance together, very close in the sky, of biblical proportions, back on June the 5th. An amazing conjunction. Patrick, now we get back to earthly matters, and we appreciate you. But even more important than that, we go to our callers. Let's go to line number 2. Bob's been patient in Riverhead. Bob, you're on the air. How you doing?
Hi, gentlemen. Well, tokenization sounds a little bit like floating shares on intellectual property when there's no hard asset. That's not why I called. We use your imagination, and, you know, the M1E1, the new Abrams tank, is fully integrated to use data in the Internet. So you can understand the military-industrial complex will be taking over these data centers. And that makes me use my imagination and think this is like a present-day Skynet. And the next thing that comes to mind is Battlestar Galactica, which they were completely networked, and how they were susceptible to, hacking. And in both cases, in both of these movies, who was threatened was humanity.
Yeah, you're right.
And the existence of humanity.
You know, you're right, Bob. Yeah, and Dr. Sky had nothing to do with Skynet of Terminator, but that's a serious subject in the whole realm of science fiction. No, not to be funny. You bring up some interesting points. Patrick, he's talking sense here. This is interesting about what might be the future. Yeah.
Indeed, he does. The rumor, or call it the narrative, that we have to beat China, and if we don't pull out all the stops here in America, we can't do that. You know, we have to beat China, whatever. The fact is, China has about 375 data centers. I just did a statistic on the internet. We have about 5,000 data centers in our country. That's over 13 times. Well, who's floating this rumor, this narrative that we have to beat China? It's the AI industry itself. At this point, they've gone rogue in a sense because they're not telling us the truth about the spread of these AI data centers. I didn't know personally that there was 5,000 data centers. I thought it was somewhere around 3,500.
Wow.
But they're going up like weeds around. And, I think this caller makes a good point. Why do they want all these data centers? How many will be, dispatched for the military to use? This is very disturbing. It really is.
Bob in Riverhead, you get the last word if you're with us. We appreciate your call and your commentary. Go ahead.
Well, the jet fighters now are going to have no pilots. They're going to rely on data connections. The M1E1, new Abrams tank, is that way. And now we talk about drones and we talk about humanoid robots, which will be new soldiers of the future. I'm sure for data redundancy, all of these systems will have their own online computers. But the best way to fully integrate from a reconnaissance standpoint and intelligence standpoint is to be hooked into the network. But this also makes our military systems susceptible to hacking. So, humanity gets the short end of the stick, and I think that's what we have to keep aware of.
Bob in Riverhead,
Amen.
insightful. I appreciate you and all the great callers that we've set our own little record here. We're tracking this, and, the topic is of importance to people, and they have opinions, and they need to be heard. But now I'm going to get on to something very depressing. Can you imagine this? And you wrote this article. You're a person who works in a Chinese factory, and now you go into your office, and you're told by your boss, the Chinese workers now are required to train the AI replacements. That's the most depressing thing I can ever imagine. Your job is gone, per se, and now you have to succumb to it and train them. Did the robot say thank you? Probably not. But it is, on a serious note, that's pretty depressing, do you think?
It really is. It's happening here as well. And people are talking about it here as well. This story just popped out to me. And I saw it on a magazine called Futurism, and it just struck me that China's they have the same problem there. Their workers are being directed by their bosses to train AI to replace themselves. This is not good. It's very, very depressing.
I mean, even if you gave the person a big severance check, God bless for the time they worked, and they deserve what they should if they put time in, and they're obviously a good employee. But the point is, that's pretty depressing, and you're reporting to us, sadly, that's happening in various aspects of the world. But Patrick, before the clock runs out, give us, in your take, in your experience, in your opinion, ways that people can get involved in this movement peacefully to look at how we can stop this total aggression on individualities, because again, I use that example. The metamorphosis of the butterfly is a beautiful thing in nature, but I don't want to be metamorphosized. That's a fancy word. Without somebody saying, "Do you want to be metamorphosized?" Give us some positives before the clock runs out. What can
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Look, go to just try this experiment. Go to any city council meeting. Usually they meet at least once a month, if not more frequently. Mm-hmm. Just go and look at the people who are attending with you, okay? And just look around. Maybe start a couple of conversations. Why are you here? They'll ask you, why are you here? You say, well, I just want to find out what's going on here. You'll find resistance immediately because people are going to complain. They are going to the city councils to complain about the conditions that they're bringing into their communities, and they're hopping mad. It's their life that's on the block. So get in touch with people. That's the easiest way to do it. If you can't believe there's a resistance going in your city against data centers, that's where you're going to find it. So don't look for the yellow pages. Don't look for the newspaper. They won't tell you. Go to the city council and you'll find out who's raising a ruckus or not.
That's amazing. Good information as always, Patrick, and we have you here every month. My email, drsky@wabcradio.com for commentary on either side of this equation. But of course, many people, Patrick, have given us guest suggestions. We can't guarantee we'll get them all. But I do my homework and try my best to provide you, ladies and gentlemen, and your opinion, of course, matters, with a show that obviously has, in my opinion, at least we have the ability to share information here with what we like, critical thinking in the form of dialogue in this theater of the mind. And some have said, I don't know if this is totally the official way to say it, but they have said the Dr. Sky Experience, an antidote to negative news fatigue. If you're tired of hearing negative news, well, sometimes we have to bring it up. But in Patrick's way, we're trying to provide some solutions. Patrick, we didn't have enough time to go through all these topics, but again, go to technocracy.news, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to read the in-depth articles there. And joining him once again on Monday. What is the time again? Give us the time in Eastern.
It's going to be 3 o'clock Pacific. That would be 6 o'clock Eastern, and figure out the times in between. The title will be Pax Silica, Who Owns the Rails of the AI Civilization?
Interesting. And we never got to talk about transhumanism. That's another in-depth subject. And you're reporting very quickly, we have a few moments here, maybe two, that you can explain this story. Some of the major gurus in the techno world are looking to develop this whole concept of transhumanism, where they could theoretically find ways, medically and such, even through AI assistance, to live forever. How about that one, Patrick?
That's crazy. My mom used to tell me, a fool and his money are soon parted.
Wow. Well, they have the head. I'm trying to think. The severed head, this sounds a little graphic, of Ted Williams here in Arizona. He's frozen somewhere in Scottsdale in one of those big cryogenic chambers because some people believe, maybe that company, not to knock them, they figure someday in the future we'll have the technology to transplant it, but maybe they ought to get, if not they already have, a direct line to Elon Musk in his ability to do many, many things. And with his technology that they're looking to be able to stimulate nerves and implants in people's spines that are paralyzed, God bless them, and have them the ability to walk and maybe even do the thing about getting people to see. Wouldn't that be a miracle? Those that are blind and became blind, that would be a total miracle. And those are the things that I definitely would support. You got about 30 seconds, Patrick. You're good. Go for it. 30 seconds are yours.
I have to just invite people to go to technocracy.news, go to Amazon.com, find all of our books there. You can buy books on our website as well. There's audiobooks, there's Kindle versions, any way you consume. We have over 7,000 articles on technocracy.news right now, indexed, categorized. It's a treasure trove of articles on technocracy, transhumanism to an extent. This is 11 years of work at this point. It's unbelievable.
Patrick, technocracy.news. Thank you. We look forward to the next iteration on the Theater of the Mind, or in the Theater of the Mind with you, and continue to update us and me on all these bit of information. Have a great weekend. More tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about American exceptionalism in hour number 1, and then move on to some serious individuals. Retired U.S. Navy intelligence captain Doug Cupo talking about the latest UFO information. Now, stay tuned to the Powerhouse Talk Radio 77, WABC, the powerful blowtorch, as we pass the torch of conversation from here, the Dr. Sky Experience, for another side of midnight with Lionel here on this great radio station that's been around well more than a century, beaming itself out to the nation, the world, and I'm sure even out to the cosmos. We'll see you tomorrow. Health and good happiness and clear skies.